work in behavioral ecology. Okay. And I will talk about, and my talk is under the subject of sexual selection. And I will talk about female Drosophila sexual preferences and how social learning may modulate these preferences. And I will discuss how such a non-genetic inheritance system of information can be stable in a species like this with miniature brains. So this is my philosophical question. So before starting with showing my data, I will introduce the concept of mate choice copying. And mate choice copying is a type of social learning in the context of sexual selection. And it occurs when females choose males not in an independent way. In fact, I think I will be giving a practical example of our previous talk, so it's perfect. And in mate choice copying, so the females choose non-independently. So this female here is observing an interaction between a male and another female. And the female so is acquiring social information about the quality of the male. And in this example here, in independent mate choice, the female is directly engaging in an interaction with the male, in the courtship behavior of the male, for example, and learning from that interaction, and so deciding based on that interaction. And in non-independent mate choice, the female is not spending energy with that, she's only observing, and if the male is accepted by the model female, the male is producing positive information about himself, and so his attractiveness is increasing, and so the propensity for this female to choose the same male increases as well. And this phenomena has been studied in many vertebrate species. These are just some examples, and the Japanese scales and guppies were the pioneer studies in this area of behavioral ecology. But many other studies exist. However, and here I will show you the classical design of testing mate choice copying in invertebrates, and here this is an example in fish. And the classical design starts with measuring the natural choice of the female, and then we expect the female to have a preference for one of the males, and if one of the males is bigger than the other, for example, there is an advantage to the female to choose the bigger males, because this will influence the physiology of the offspring. And so it is adaptive, and we were expecting this to happen, and in fact it happens. Then there is a demonstration phase where a demonstrator female is placed in the side of the smaller male, so the male that was rejected at the beginning, and then we measure again the choice of the female, and if there is copying, we expect the female to increase the time spent interacting with the smaller male. And in fact, it occurs in this study from Witt and Altmaier. But this was done in vertebrates, and so during my PhD, my co-authors and I, we asked if this could also happen in invertebrates, namely small invertebrates like Drosophila melanogaster. And so what we did, we adapted this design to the reality of a little Drosophila. I don't know if you know, Drosophila melanogaster are small fruit flies, very, very small. And we used plexiglass boxes of this size and territories for the males, where we placed the males. We also used bigger males and smaller males for the same reason as in the fish example. And the female was placed inside and allowed to choose between the males. And as in the fish example, there was a first choice, and we found a preference for the bigger male. Then a a demonstrator phase where we introduced the demonstrator female inside the territory of the smaller male, and then the copied choice. At least we were expecting the female to spend more time in the territory of the previously rejected male. And what we found is that the attractiveness of the smaller male increased significantly from the first choice and the copied choice. But both males at the end ended up with the same attractiveness. So we were happy with this. This was the first evidence of mate choice copying in an invertebrate species. We also did more three treatments. The one I've showed you was putting a demonstrator female inside the territory of the smaller male. We also did the other treatment, including the demonstrator female inside the territory of the bigger male and the control with no demonstration. And what we found, as I showed you, there was a difference between these two treatments. So the attractiveness of the smaller male increased, but apparently no difference in the attractiveness of the bigger male. So we were expecting an increase in preference for this male, but since both social information and the female's innate knowledge of knowing that bigger males are better than the smaller males, these two types of information were consistent, and so it was not important because of that. Now, in the same study, we also did another experiment, this time with plastic tubes, where we introduced a demonstrator, an observer female in the one side of the tube, and the observer here, and the demo female here, and the males on this side as well. And this time we used males of the same size, but of different colors. So we just painted them, and we created two artificial phenotypes, one green and one pink. And we used the demonstrator females were either virgin or previously mated. And what we were creating here was a cascade of information where we placed, so in this side of the tubes, we placed a virgin demonstrator female with a green male, and so the female accepted the green male, and so they were producing positive information for the observer one. And 1 hour later, we placed a pink male with a previously mated female, and the inDrosophila females, when they just mated, they reject the males for half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, sometimes even 24 hours. And so these females were producing negative information about the pink males. And this was done in a sequence, and after 6 hours, we allowed the female to copulate, the observer female, the female that was here always, we allowed her to mate with a pink and a green male. And what we found is that with no visual cues, so when this glass partition was opaque, the females showed no preference for the phenotypes because they are artificial. So we were expecting the females to have no a priori preference for these phenotypes. But with visual cues, we found that indeed they mated more often with the males about whom they received positive information. We also did the reverse, providing positive information about the pink and negative about the green, and the result was similar. Now, more recently, we decided to go even further because this, I forgot to tell something very important here, is that in this example, we are not only showing the existence of mate choice copying, but we are also showing the existence of mate choice copying generalization, because the female, the observer one, was allowed to copy to two individuals that she had never met before. So the female generalized the information about the pink and the green males to two individuals that were completely unknown to her, but they simply shared the same phenotype, this is very important. And here, 5 minutes. And here we were testing another layer of this behavior, which is the female reproductive investment decisions. Will the females that mate choice copy invest more in the progeny of those males? I will pass this. We use the same protocol, and what we found is that in the control treatment, where no information was provided, when the females decided to mate with the big males, they laid the same amount of eggs than when they decided to mate with the small males, because this was her decision, and so the investment was the same. But in the treatments where we placed a demonstrator female with the big male, the investment in terms of number of eggs is twice as higher. So in our previous study, the information about the bigger male was apparently redundant, but actually in investment behavior was not. And here, even though the smaller male increased in attractiveness, this was not enough for an increased investment in number of eggs. Now, why is mate choice copying important, and why is this important in Drosophila? Mainly because this is a non-genetic horizontal inheritance system, because this is social information, it's not genetical information, this is learning. And it is also a fitness enhancing mechanism. I will go more rapidly because I would like to show this. Well, mate choice copying has then been hypothesized to cause a kind of a cultural inheritance, because there is transmission of behavioral patterns among individuals. It causes an increase in behavioral diversity because the females acquire new behaviors, new preferences, and it also causes ecological change. This is really important. This is kind of niche construction and so on, because there are new selective pressures on both the copying individuals and the copied individuals. So all this together is important in local adaptation, and it also increases the rate and direction of sexual selection. Do I have 2 minutes more or less? Yes. So I will explain this because this part is the philosophical component of my talk. So why is mate choice copying in Drosophila so relevant? Well, first of all, because mate choice copying is much more than associative learning, because there is no immediate reward. The females are not receiving a present or something immediately. They are producing eggs, and they probably will not even survive to see if their offspring also survived and reproduced successfully. So there is no immediate reward. So this is a process much more complex than associative learning. Knowing that this occurs in Drosophila, it's important because now we know that this behavior is much more taxonomically widespread than previously thought. It's not an exclusive of vertebrates. But there is a problem because this organism has miniature brains. So how can we put this kind of learning process in an organism that has 2 millimeters in size? It's really amazing. And we can imagine an adaptive value of this behavior in Drosophila because they are short-lived, and so it's very costly for the female to mate at random. So it is important for them to learn in order to do important mate choice decisions. However, there are costs of learning in Drosophila in terms of fecundity and survival. Lineages that have been selected to have more learning capabilities, they have lower fecundity and live less time. So there is a trade-off here going on. Anyway, generally we think that the cognitive abilities develop first, and once an animal has a developed cognitive capacity, it will do complex behaviors like mate choice copying. But now we can start thinking about the the other way around. It is the ecological and social dynamics of the species that provides the selection pressures necessary for the development of complex behaviors like mate choice copying, and these and cognitive abilities will appear as a byproduct. So, but this is just a reflection, and other authors have also thought about this. And now Drosophila is kind of a mainstream species to study these kind of questions as well. And okay, I don't have time for this, and well, this is not as important as now. This is my research team now, the people I work with, and thank you very much.
Thank you.